Good morning, Father Strom.
Good morning, good morning.
This is Mr. Williams. Happy to see you live from the Vatican.
Happy to see you as well. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you really for honoring us and joining, sharing your with us today, even for a short while. Your Grace, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
So we are just about to start. I'm just going to put some good morning, everybody. I'm just going to put some ground rules to say that there is a chat room that will have all our questions this morning. The participants, your microphones are head. You can have the microphones until the end. So the interactive moment will be at the end, but your questions during the presentations and anything you have to say, just dump it in the group. Let's make sure that, and we will attend all the questions. Use the chat for posting questions, for posting comments, whatever you have them through the chat. Then we also will have a YouTube live channel for those, because we reach our peak of participants allowed for this Zoom. We will call others to the live YouTube. So, and then our Twitter handle is NYCCEN1 at NYCCEN1. Twitter handle will all be active. And then at the end of this meeting, we will have an interactive session. Now we are just about to kick off. I want to start by, before laying down the protocols, Your Grace, Most Reverend Alfred Adewalitins, Barrister Sharon Ikeazo, our Honorable Minister of State for Environment, Reverend Father Jotra Kuredadam, Coordinator for Ecology and Creation, Vatican Dicastery of Integral Human Development, Professor Mrs. Egwan, Head of Department of Zoology, University of Lagos, and a partner of my parish of Assumption, Falom, Dr. Amin Muktari Amino Kano, the DG of Nigerian Conservation Foundation and a very close personal friend, Reverend Father Murabuchi, the principal of St. Francis Secondary School, Imu, Lagos, all priests in the house. I think we have Reverend Father Julius Olaiton, the Dean of Lagos Island, and we have also Father Obad, who is the chaplain of the Catholic Youth Organization of Nigeria. President of Catholic Youth Organization of Nigeria is also present. All other participants, every other protocol were respected. Good morning. This webinar, in conjunction with Nigerian Conservation Foundation. It gives me great pleasure to host this webinar today in conjunction with NCF, commemorating both the 5th anniversary of Laudato Si and World Environment Day, as well as charting a course of actions for NYCCEN. As we all know, Laudato Si 5th anniversary that has just gone off has dovetailed into a year of celebration in a renewal of Pope Francis's call for our commitment to care for the earth, our common home, and return to nature. In the times we are in now, a post-COVID-19 world, the earth itself is renewal. A reminder that we must not go back to past ways and habits. We must all stand together and appreciate God's gift of creation, and that is earth and her gifts. This is a time to be sorry for our cruelty to creation, to Mother Nature, through plundering and exploitation of her riches and gifts by our actions, consumption rates, and lifestyle that has led to loss of biodiversity, pollution, climate change, disease, and poverty, making the earth one huge dump site, almost an existential threat. It is our moral duty to identify and lend a voice of advocacy, key issues concerning the environment, biodiversity, climate change, pollution, depletion of species, and so on, and bring all these things to the front burner. We should say never again to zoonotic pandemic like what we're experiencing now, COVID-19. The role of groups in advocating for green recovery in a post-COVID world cannot be overemphasized, because they can chart a new course for nature as it is in their teachings. For example, the Catholic social teachings, and also all faith core values. So to do. To the representative, as Father Jostram from Vatican, we say we have had a cursory look at the 7-year plan of the Laudato Si from the dicastery, and we applaud the programs such as the Living Chapel, which is a living biodiversity itself, the plastic bank, which is part of what we want to keep into, because we here in Nigeria, we are inundated with plastic waste. The schools programs of exchange and stuff, we are interested in all these programs. These are great participatory interest to our youths and teaming faithful, especially the plastic recycling bank. We want to do the plastic to bricks. This will help put money in the hands of the poor, and especially the women, and employment for youths. Another interest is in agriculture and the Francesco economy. So we hope this is the beginning of great expectation for our teaming youths, and as a way of drawing attention to the destruction of our common home, and also at the same time show an of gratitude for the earth and bright hope for the future. The NYCCEN youth had put together a very thematic, wonderful dance video drama, but unfortunately we are having connection problem. Can't play you that video, neither can we play you one by the Pope. So we will send it to your private boxes and you will enjoy it. But the drama of the NYCCEN is really something to behold. So with that, I want to go on to the next item on the program. And I would like to say that we run the program this way because we have changed. We are not doing the 2 videos. We're going to go straight to the introduction of NYCCEN by Ecology, who is the president of the Catholic organization of Ave Maria Parish in Lekki here in Lagos. Thereafter, we will move straight to taking, if George Ram can stay a bit long, we will now take the presentation of Father Abuchi, but if not, we will now take George Ram's presentation immediately so that he can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm with you the entire hour up to.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I rearranged my programs. Yeah.
You arranged your program. Oh,
yeah.
Clap.
Yeah.
Clap for you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Father George Ram. We are very, very, very grateful for this. So we'll now go straight. If we can play these videos, we'll play them at the end, the one by the Pope and the one of NYCCEN. It's a beautiful video. So for now, we will now go to the introduction of NYCCEN by Augustine Orji. Thank you and good morning again.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Orji Augustine, the president of Catholic Youth Organization of Nigeria, Ave Maria Parish, Lekki, Lagos. I will take you through a brief presentation on NYCCEN. What is NYCCEN? NYCCEN is a network of young Catholic carers for the environment in Nigeria. An initiative of Catholic of Lagos, Nigeria. This was launched by the Bishop of Lagos on the 6th of December 2019. So with 500 people in attendance and about 18 media houses with over 10 priests and religious, over 10 priests and religious in attendance, including the deans of Isolo and Lagos Island. A picture of the event. Here we have the paper presentation, the planting of tree, and we rounded off with a rally at the field of the St. Gregory Catholic Church where we had the event. The Archdiocese of Lagos, Korea and Consultors Laudato Si Retreat 2020. This is under the activities of the year. The second one. On the third one, we have the sensitization of Catholic faithfuls at the Archdiocese Lenten Retreat 2020, this year also. We also, at the fourth activity we had this year so far since inception, is the sensitization of leaders of small Christian communities at the Holy Cross Cathedral. Finally, the fifth activity we've done a distribution of palliatives during this COVID-19 lockdown. And we recently had a a volunteer brainstorming on the future of the NYCCEN, future and the activities of NYCCEN. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you all.
We would now go to a presentation. Thank you very much, Augustine. We will now go to a presentation by Reverend Father Abuchi Maduchi, from Principal of St. Francis Catholic Secondary School, Idimu, as a living testimony of what can be done by the young people. Father Abuchi's paper is titled, "The Role of Young People in Taking Up the Environment Challenge, the Can Do and Change Spirit." Reverend Father Abuchi, Administrator, St. Francis Catholic College.
Good morning, Your Grace, and morning, Father Jostrom and everyone. First of all, a quick introduction about the school, St. Francis. Our patron is St. Francis of Assisi, the patron saint of ecology. The school is 30 years old, and it stands on a land given to the Catholic Church by a predominantly Muslim family. Now, this is very important to us because it's very encouraging when we talk about diversity, that we live on land given by a Muslim family, and free of charge to the Catholic Church. The school is run by the Jesuits, and one common ground for all religious faiths in the school is taking care of our common home, which Pope Francis called humanity to do in 2015 in the Laudato Si. The teaching of Pope Francis in Laudato Si is also for the young generation of different faiths, and it's better to catch them young. There is need for ecological conversion for all of us. We read in Genesis chapter 1, verse 31, God saw all that he made and saw it was good. We're currently witnessing a revolution of hope going on in the United States after the death of George Floyd, which is going to transform the mindsets of youths all over the world on the issue of racial justice. There is also a need for that type of revolution on the issue of environmental justice. And Pope Francis has already ignited that type of revolution on the issue of environmental justice. Pope Francis, in that encyclical, is asking all of us to promote a healthy and a safe environment for our generation and for the future generation. And that's what we're trying to do in St. Francis. It is important to give young students philosophical and scientific lenses to wear when viewing the environment, and lenses will help them to relate better with others and also relate with the natural world. Here in St. Francis, we try to remind the students about the custody of creation. It's not based on domination over creation, rather on caring for creation. If we teach the young to wrongly interpret scripture as saying that man is the center of the universe, the world will be exploited. And this is an anthropocentric view of the universe. However, here we try to remind our children that God is the center of the universe, and we are all creative custodians of life and of creation. This theocentric approach to creation reminds us that we are all creatures and not the creator. We're just mere creatures. It was necessary for our school at some point to trim down trees because they were kind of touching the buildings. And it gladdened my heart to know that students actually were concerned about this approach. They said, why are we trimming down the trees? They were discussing about the percentage of oxygen reduction, and it was good to know that students are actually concerned. And that's why I said it's important to catch these young people young. If students do not start young to learn about cleanliness, harmony, and beauty and order, it's difficult for them to practice these values when they grow older. There is a a story that I told the children. I often tell them is a story of a Swiss boy, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old Swiss boy in Europe at an airport. The parents gave him a candy and that candy, and he tried to unwrap it, and the wrap fell on the floor and was being blown by the breeze. And this young Swiss boy did not take the candy. He followed the wrap and then finally bent down, picked it up, came back, put it in a trash can before he took the candy. And that for me was a powerful story of discipline. And we try to encourage our children to practice that type of discipline too. Also try to teach them about alternative
environment. Barrister Sharon Igazo, who's been on with us for a while, we can ask her to enable her video so that everybody can. She's present with us here. And to say that it's a living experience, what we have here, Father Mada Buchia said. Idimu, for those who don't know, is in the heartland of Lagos State, right in the center of where a people's place. And if it can happen and the children there can decide to do what they're doing, so you can imagine if this is scaled up. And that's really why I'm going to call on His Grace, Most Reverend Dr. Alfred Adewale Martins, for his first intervention to speak now, while Mrs. Rose Begonwa gets ready to present her paper after the first intervention by His Grace, the Archbishop of the Catholic Diocese of Lagos. Your Grace. Yeah.
Well, let me begin by expressing my joy and my delight that we are having this webinar. And we are having it as part of the celebration of the 5th anniversary of that monumental document that was given to humanity by the Holy Father, Pope Francis. Well, of course, perhaps we should not be surprised. Anyone who walks in the footsteps of St. Francis of Assisi has got to do that which Pope Francis is doing. But we are truly delighted that he has given us this document to chart a path for the way we treat our earth and for the way we interact with our environment. We feel really inspired that he is at the forefront of calling the whole world to pay attention to the care of the earth. I'm also delighted by the fact that this webinar has been primarily organized by the network of young Catholic carers for the environment. This is an initiative that was started in the Archdiocese of Lagos, as has been mentioned before. And we are truly proud that we have the privilege of beginning that kind of initiative in our country, Nigeria. And we are glad that it's starting with our young people. And we are also want to say well done to Marie Fatai Williams, who has been at the forefront, along with her team, who has been at the front of starting this initiative for getting young people to be involved in the care of the environment. I'm even more delighted that we have the Nigeria Conservation Foundation working with NYCCEN in order to put this webinar together. We're truly delighted because NCF is one of the greatest advocates for everything that helps with the environment in our country. We are here. And we are happy that they were with us when the NYCCEN was launched. They were also with us when we had a retreat for the courier and consultants of the Archdiocese. We're delighted by the fact that the NCF, took the initiative of bringing together faith-based organizations in order to encourage us to be part also of the effort at the protection and the maintenance of the environment. So I want to therefore begin by saying thank you to them and to assure them that they have found a worthy, or rather a dependable an enthusiastic ally in the Catholic Archdiocese of Lagos. We keep with NYCCEN going through down to the entire of the Archdiocese of Lagos. You have a dependable ally in us. And we hope that we can continue to depend, or rather to work with you in collaboration to fulfill the purpose for which NYCCEN was created, which we hope will spread through to the whole of the country. Since establishment in 2019, NYCCEN has found its way into the secondary schools in our archdiocese. And finding its way into the schools in our archdiocese is for us a very vital and important part of taking seriously the Laudato Si document that the encyclical that the Holy Father has given us, because we see that as a very vital way of ensuring that the future of the earth is assured as much as is possible by engaging those who are young now, who will be there in the future, who will be using the earth as our common home. And so that is a thing that we would wish that eventually would flow out of our own secondary school into government schools and other private schools, so that we can work together with them to ensure that our young people at that level of education are already sensitized. I was glad to hear all that Father Leo had to say concerning the practicalizing of the ideas of Laudato Si. That is a very great inspiration to us, and we hope that there will be constant exchange among the schools of the Archdiocese, first of all, so that these values and behind them can be more and more widespread and find greater fertile ground in the minds and hearts of our young people. One of the things that we have actually taken as a point of action is to see that in all the schools that belong to the Archdiocese, Laudato Si is taken into consideration in each of the subjects, such that when you teach biology or physics or chemistry or mathematics or English language, it is somehow linked to the values that Laudato Si is trying to give to mankind. And we're hoping, and indeed, some efforts have already begun with the rate of education to ensure that things are gradually introduced and becomes part and parcel of life in our schools. At where the administrators of our colleges, I'm sure that some of them on this webinar, the administrators of our colleges are all beginning to ensure that the values that we are talking about are put in place. I'm aware that many of the schools are at this point in time producing, making water available to their students. The search is on. Search is on to ensure that the plastic bottles that are being used at the moment are not just thrown away, but rather refilled. Designed in such a way that it will, as I said, help to earn money for individuals who pick them, and also ensure that our environment is kept in good shape. There has been talk about nature parks, and we are hoping too that in each of our schools, small or big as it may, nature parks will be created so that young people can get the full knowledge of the fact that nature has to be respected and has to be preserved for the future. Well, at this point in time, we are yet to reach, not all the schools are able to reach providing alternative sources of energy. at different levels, the schools are working to having alternative sources of energy, different from fossil fuels. The rate of success is not the same in all the schools, but at least it's the intention that this will go on for. But of course, these things are pretty expensive. They are pretty expensive, and we are hoping that one way or the other, the institutions will perhaps be able to generate the resources needed, the financial resource needed, perhaps also through the support of those who are well endowed in this direction. So I want to say that I'm delighted that we have such a variety of persons participating at this. Aminu Kano, I'm glad that you are here. I don't know whether Dr. Ecology is here yet, but these are men who have been very much part of this effort. And I want to say thank you for being part of it, and I'm glad that we are in this interaction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grace. Thank you for those words of advocacy and commendations. Yes, Dr. Desmond Kudumi, your friend, is in the house. He's linked up, so we know he's listening to us. He's around, as well as others from the NCF family as well. Truly, nature and interest us, and we think that even in our August University in Ekpe, we could have this area of little reserve where people can go and pray and have spiritual encounter and preservation of some nature for them. And of course, in the schools, you rightly said, nature gardens, and in the churches and stuff as much as possible, and take over some of the concrete spaces. Of course, scaling up the St. Francis Dimo experience is without a doubt going to be something in Nigeria for Lagos and for other schools. Now we would go over to Dr. Aminu Kano, because we're talking of faith-based and faith-interfaith linkage. So Dr. Kano's paper will come first before we will get Mrs. Professor Rosemary Agonwa to wrap up at the end of the day. So Dr. Aminu Kano, DG NCF, is now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marie. Your Grace and Honorable Minister, State of Federal Ministry of Environment. It's really a pleasure, NCF, to be invited to this occasion. And Your Grace, thank you very much for your leadership in actually starting this and kicking in Nigeria with this solid activity of the faith intervention in environment and climate. I think people refer to Laudato Si, which was an encyclical from His Holiness that in 2015. We see Laudato Si not just as a gift to the Catholic community, but actually a gift to mankind. And we all know how important it was in pushing over the edge the agreed on climate change in Paris in 2015. It was this intervention by His Holiness really that actually made sure that the leaders got together, pushed their heads together, and agreed a Paris climate agreement. So we really, I just want to situate the importance of Laudato Si, climate, and Nigeria, Nigerian Conservation Foundation and Environment Group, which has been doing a lot of advocacy, campaigning, and action on it, really recognize that for so long we have been missing a trick by not really engaging with the faith community. And last year we began the move of approaching various faiths, and thank God the first really take up a most important action is from Your Grace here. in the Archdiocese of Lagos, and we can see what the offspring is, which is NYCCEN. And it's so good to start with something like NYCCEN, which is the youth, because through all the energy, they have technical savviness, and they have more investment in the future and the environment. Some of us who are right here, so I think it's absolutely right that it is that. And NCF is really happy to partner and continue. And you have other friends from other faiths that have their open hands to work with you. In fact, I bring fraternal greetings to the president of the National Council of Muslim Youth Organization, Alhaji Sani, who wanted to be here himself, but is really part of the group that, the interfaith group that wants to work with you on this. So just to say some of the areas Nigerian Conservation Foundation has started and will continue to work with NYCCEN. Every year we do a climate strike march across various states in the country, which is for youth. We hold a climate action youth dialogue, and we are currently developing a manual on how we could engage with climate change and biodiversity conservation. So I'll just show you a few pictures of those events. Here, this is the climate strike march. We had one in Lagos, we had in Ogun, in Nambra, in Enugu, in Sokoto, Katsina, in Bauchi, Gombe, in Abuja and other places. We had states last year, and we hope whenever COVID-19 allows, virtual or physical marches and so on, we will be doing it together. And as well as youth climate action, like the planting of trees and others that His Grace mentioned. These are things that we do across several states in the country as well. And the youth dialogue is mostly bring together youth groups from various groups, from Red Cross, from YMCA, from other youth organizations to actually come together, dialogue. And some are in universities, some in secondary schools and tertiary institutions. So these are pictures of the climate action youth dialogue in various states we held in 2020, and sample of some of the climate manual that we are doing for youths, targeting 5 years to 25 age. Guideline for to see what they can practically do in their own life, also what they can do as a collective in work with groups like NYCCEN. We do several other awareness events, like, we celebrate World Environment Day. We do management and cleanup work. We do upcoming events with youth again in different places. And we set up nurseries, trees in schools, in woodlots, urban areas, and many other places. And these are all opportunities for closer, stronger partnership with NYCCEN. We celebrate all the Global Environment Day, International Day for Biodiversity, International Bee Day, Environment Day, World Health, International Day for Forests, World Wetland Day, and others. So these, again, are opportunities for together. And also we do competitions annually for youths. These are arts and essay competition, or competitions or quiz competitions for various groups all our country. And we have just finished one, the Ambassador Larger Memorial Art Essay Competition for primary schools, a separate one for secondary schools. And they have very attractive prizes. And we had ends from all the 36 country and about to announce the winners. I would love to do this with NYCCEN. Thank you very much. This is just some of the things that I will stop here.
Thank you very much, DG, Dr. Mutari Aminu Kanu. As you might know, I am a council member of the Conservation Foundation, so I work very closely with Dr. Aminu Kanu on some of these things I've just shown you. And that's why I said a good rapport with him as well, with the NCF. We are grateful. Been quite a number of questions, but some are putting it some other places. Can we ask you to put your questions in the chat room so we can respond to you, because not all of them are in the chat room. Some of you are sending it other place. Could you bank your links in the chat room and with responses and we're able to in a short while. For those who are eager to hear from Father Jotram, just hang on a while. He will speak very soon. After some Mrs. Edna, who is Professor Head of the Department of Ecology of the University of Lagos. She is the one that is going to give us a paper, technical paper this morning. So we want to welcome Professor Mrs. Egonwa, who is going to talk about creating awareness of Nigeria's dwindling among Nigerians, among Nigerians actually. So, Dr. Mrs. Egonwa, please.
For the invitation. I'm delighted to be here and to bring GAN to town, so to say. And the speakers before this one have highlighted the various ways that we're getting the youth to be interested in the environment, and more importantly, to be interested in biodiversity. We start off by asking ourselves, what is biodiversity? The term biodiversity was coined from a contraction of biological diversity or biotic diversity. Bio means life. Organisms have life called living things. Diversity on its own needs variety and the variability of species of living organisms, that is plants and animals, and including microorganisms or all life forms in a particular area, environment, or the ecosystem. For our information, life has existed on planet Earth for about 4 million years, during which it has increased in diversity and richness of what we have today. The first living organisms were probably microorganisms, and through a series of evolution, the microorganisms evolved fast into what today vast array of plants and animals that we now call biodiversity. Ecosystem, like we know, is a functional unit in ecology and described as the interaction or assemblages of plants and animals, and they are non-living, the non-living components of the environment. And this brings about what we call the nutrient cycle and energy flow. So it is through the ecosystem that biodiversity provides services to themselves and to man. Ecosystem organisms can exist without the abiotic environment, as both the biotic and abiotic components of an system are interrelated. It is this interaction that produces the materials, that is nutrients, energy flow, that can be exchanged between the two. So the ecosystem services provided by biodiversity is so numerous that it's important to mention it. We have provisioning, the regulating, we have the cultural, and most of them are supporting services. provisioning gives us food, regulating gives us, climate regulation, pollination of crops, and so on. So, for example, we know we have ants that bite, and those ants form part of the biodiversity. And we ask, what should we bother about ants? They can die and they disappear. We don't need them. Spiders, what do we need spiders for? Those creeping, those crawling things, those annoying things. What do we need them for? But the truth is that all these insects and other organisms, they have a role to play in the ecosystem. For example, the so-called biting ants provide food for many farm mammals. The so-called spiders are predators. They spin webs that trap insects they feed on. So, for example, it can help us to control our mosquitoes. So, biodiversity and healthy ecosystem are essential for sustainable development, and we need biodiversity. It's therefore very important to conserve biodiversity and use the component in a sustainable manner in order to achieve the 2030 agenda for sustainable development. So again, like I said, biodiversity has so many values. We have direct value, we have indirect value, we have the option value and existence value. That by the existence value, just let them solve, let them end there. Let's use for them some other time. They may not be useful now, but in future they will be useful. So don't let us kill this art, because don't let us cut down this tree. It may be useful now, in future they may be useful. And that's why the economic value of diversity, if we think of it, if we bring it to the attention of the youth today, they will be able to help us to preserve the biodiversity. So why is conservation important? And that's what I say. Ants, the invertebrates. Do we need to save? Why do we bother about stars? But we need the annoying lies to the composition of waste and carcasses of dead animals. Many animals are used in laboratory for experiments, and so they become of immense benefit to humans. For example, coronavirus vaccine, which is being developed, will first be tested on animals before being administered to humans. Many of our new drugs are produced from plants. Penicillin and antibiotics were discovered in fungus. So biodiversity is very important. We should stop it, especially for our youth, and we should let them know that preservation of diversity is of utmost concern. Humans cannot afford to destroy any portion of the earth. Some of this may be precious to us in the future. Sustainable use key to having this plant and animals with for a very long time. Humans have moral and ethical responsibility to develop the planet the way, or live the planet the way we met it, if not better. Either you live the way you met it or make it better. So biodiversity is not a positive sign. So we try and have biodiversity. It's in Genesis 1:28, Genesis 2, so many other biblical interpretations. So biodiversity, especially in Nigerian biodiversity, could be used for tourism, for recreation. So many other things should be that biodiversity can be used for. We should have this in mind. And also tell our children and the youth that we have no reason to kill any animal or destroy any, for example. So the robust biodiversity and health are essential in any country for sustainable development. And human well-being, provision of food, water, and support for human health. So it is very important to conserve biodiversity and use its components in a sustainable manner, as earlier. Our country, Nigeria, lucky is located in West Africa, in the close to the equator, where light is always overhead. Other tropical countries in Southeast Asia, Ireland, the islands of West Pacific, and South America, all included. The Amazon is part of this tropical country. No other region of the world is blessed with more light, warm temperature, and moisture for rainfall. This tropical region. The tropical regions of the world, including Nigeria, are covered by a very dense vegetation, evergreen plants, and that's why most of these are described as evergreen rainforest. So that's a diagram of Nigeria, and that's a diagram of Nigeria with Africa, which shows that with the high dense area in the coastal region is for us to see. So Nigeria is richly endowed with biodiversity, plant, animals. The different ecological coastal swamps, forest, savanna, land, there are myriads of biodiversity adapted to those habitats. The country is rich in savanna, woodland, coastal mangrove. Trees we found, we have many trees. These are some of our animals, the elephants, the camels, the lovely monkey, the red Colombo monkey. And then we have the Ibad-Malimbe. This particular bird is endemic to Nigeria. If it is allowed to disappear, we will not have it again. So that's one reason why these animals need to be preserved. And some of our animals, the adult male lion, the adult gorilla, some of them are no longer here because our biodiversity is actually dwindling. As we all know, it's dwindling. Very soon, these animals will only be seen in pictures and not live. So what are the threats to biodiversity in Nigeria? It has been mentioned many, many times. Habitat loss, food use, exploitation of wildlife resources, and so many other reasons. For these reasons are reasons that can be corrected in our youth, and that is why it is important for us to start young. I will tell a story, a very interesting story of an elephant and an elephant and a dog. The elephant and the dog became pregnant at the same time. The elephant and it became pregnant at the same time, and 18 months, after 6 months, dog had a baby. Elephant was still carrying his baby. Again, the dog became pregnant. 6 months later, the dog gave birth to another set of puppies. On the 18th month, the dog also gave birth, and the dog now asked the elephant, "What are you doing? Are you still carrying babies?" And the dog said, "I'm going to have a special baby, and this special baby is called the elephant." So we need to have the elephant, and we need to conserve other animals, and that be done by educate children, ones, and about the conservation status of some of our animals. If you know it, know how to do it. And a list here of some animals that are critically endangered, and they are there for us to read, and I can also apply them to schools. So for our church, for the Catholic, and for all other Christians, we can help to biodiversity youth. The youth, they have the ability to think. You can teach, and they can pick ideas easily. So if we teach them, we should have church-based clubs to encourage the youth to participate. Just we used to have Boy Scout, Girls Guide. We have them, we should have them, and the youth will be able to play a part in this conservation. We should let them know that we NCF in Nigeria, Nigerian Conservation Foundation, membership is open for every Nigerian. They don't have CCA as members. So youth should play a role in Nigerian Conservation Foundation. We have IUCN, we have UNEP. All these are bodies, CITES, these are all bodies that are helping us control our biodiversity. So that all church, most people believe that church can help, and I also believe Catholic that church schools to have diversity conservation as certain part of the curriculum. They should be aware of the obligations such as CITES, IUCN, UNEP, WWC in conservation. Planting should be a routine carried out process by our youth. And, school children should also be engaged in the nature and biodiversity conservation. Many of our youth are born and bred in the urban cities. They hardly visit village. And so, as such, they are not able to identify many of our wildlife by name. Most of them have not even seen pangolin before. And we now know pangolin endangered because people keep pangolin to use their skills in medicine. These are pictures showing what you can do in the environment. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Rosemary Agoman of the Department of Zoology at the University of Lagos for that presentation about diversity and how it's dwindling in Nigeria through all this plundering and the trade and the thinning of trees and the burning of woodlands and all for the advocacy for it to be revived. I'm also happy you took the malimbe, that bird, which you said is almost extinct. But thank God, the Nigerian Conservation Foundation has actually discussed on the World Environment Day, this webinar we had. They work in partnership with BirdLife organization, that is issue that has been underwater and is being preserved by the BirdLife in conjunction with the Nigerian Conservation Foundation, because malimbe, like you know, mainly in the Cameroons, so in Nigeria. Yeah. Oh, and also you talked about environment clubs, which is what the Archbishop is also talking about, and inclusion of environment in the curriculum of the young students, like the way the example of St. Francis School, Idimo, has done, where the Honorable Minister of Environment is here, and there's that I'm sure she's from us this morning. So to introduce the big guest in the house, Honorable Minister coming out from Rome. I will not do it. If I'm a Catholic and he's coming from the Vatican, we'll hand over to Dr. Mukhtar Kanu, who is a personal friend of Father Josh, to do the introduction. Dr. Kanu.
Thank you very much. Father Josh from Isaac Dam is of the sector of creation Vatican in the degree for promoting human development, Department for for promoting human development, and a department that coordinated the development of Laudato. Before he joined the Vatican, and I think he's also chair of philosophy of science and director of the Institute of Social and Political Science at the Salesian Pontifical University, Rome. And before that, he has also worked at university. So he, with a lot of academic and personal pedigree and dynamism, and for at a very short notice, accepting to be here to tell us about Laudato Si and how some of things from the Vatican. Thank you very much for accepting at such short notice, being with us. Father, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. A great joy for me to join your grace, the Honorable Mr. Father Leo, Dame Mary, Dr. Mary, and Professor Rosemary, so many fellow panelists, and all of you participants. And as I speak to you from the Vatican, from the bottom of my heart, please allow me to bring you best wishes, greetings, and praise for Francis, who as his gracious gave humanity the beautiful landmark encyclical Laudato Si. And I'd also like to congratulate the Nigerian Church for organizing the first webinar on the Laudato Si 5th anniversary plans. And so congratulations and thank you for leading Africa and the world. Now, for Francis, on the 24th of May, gifted us a Laudato Si special anniversary from 24th of May 2020 up to 24th of May 2021. Now, why did Pope Francis gift us, invite us to a Laudato Si special anniversary? The reason is that we realized the Laudato Si was published in 2015, but it's time to raise the orbit. It's like, you know, when we launch a satellite in space, we need to lift it step by step. So from 5 years from the release of Laudato Si, we realized that we need to lift the orbit. Listening to two cries, my small intervention is going to be centered around two cries and two hopes. The first cry is what's coming from Mother Earth, what this of which scientific community is warning us. Now, this is an important study which came out in 2009. There's a second edition which came out in 2013, speaks of planetary boundaries. Now, Laudato Si is the care for our common home, and the scientists are telling us, be careful. Our common home is just crumbling around us. You know, they identify 9 areas, and in the center, you have the green zone, the area of safety, usually associated with the color green. You see, like on climate change, so much so Pope Francis and the Vatican, we speak of the climate crisis. We are gone far beyond. And Professor Rosemary's biodiversity problem. Imagine, like, you know, we have gone far beyond. So we are very, very difficult situation. To come back to the climate crisis, now this is the IPC, Intergovernmental Climate Change, their graphics. This is the temperature, average temperature of the Earth last 1,000 years. You see the variations. But what we are walking to by the end of the century is frightening. Like we spoke of the Paris Agreement, which was possible, as Dr. Mary said, thanks also to Laudato Si. And Paris Agreement called on humanity limit the rise of global average mean temperature to 1.5 degrees centigrade. To put things in perspective, you know, from 1850, we have already gone beyond 1.1 degrees centigrade. Last 11,000 years, when human civilization developed, the average temperature never varied more than 1 degree, less, more, but always within the limit of 1 degree centigrade. Now the temperature has gone beyond 1.1 degrees centigrade, and we are seeing the impact of the floods and the droughts, the wildfires, and, you know, rainfall, all that. And scientists are telling us if we go beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade, it's going to be catastrophic. And as it stands now, we are moving into something like 3 degrees centigrade by the end of the century. So that's really going to be frightening. So this is the cry of the earth. And as Laudato Si teaches so, in such a powerful way. We need to listen to both the cries, Laudato Si 49, the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. So it's not just our common home which is crying, as the scientists are telling us. It's also the homes of our brothers and sisters. And this is, I took the slide from Bangladesh, where floods come every year, and water remains like 3 to 4 months. And imagine people living in a house like that. And millions of our brothers and sisters are already living in this, they are crying out. And desertification, droughts, which can, you need to leave your homeland. And the poor are crying out. And along with the poor, now this was not so much there when Laudato Si came out, it's the last couple of years. Our children are telling us, they are crying out. They're telling us, don't mess with my future. Don't steal our future. So these two cries have become so powerful, the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor, including of our children. So this is the situation in which we find ourselves in. We want Laudato Si to be lifted to another altogether. It's because we don't have time. Again, the governmental panel on climate change tells us, this report came out in 2018, telling us that we have something like 12 years. We are in 2020, which we have just a decade to really turn things around. But let me now pass on to the many hopes. And in keeping with your webinar, I picked two hopes. And the first hope is coming from above. God is raising people. And in the Vatican, I can see it. I see movements of people from all around the globe, like, people come, and especially our faith communities. Because it was Father Leo who mentioned in the Genesis, God spoke of creation being very good, everything very good. And to see chapter 2 speaks of this good news, the gospel of creation. And we need to read, and we are called to rediscover it. So this hope that comes from God, faith communities. And Saint Francis was remembered so many times today. The saints, the spirit integral ecology, this rediscovering peace with the Creator, but also when we do that, we rediscover peace with the creation, and we rediscover peace with our own fellow human beings. It's second that the Francis begins the day he embraces the poor leper. He embraces the poor, nature flowers back, and his union with God. He has returned to God. So this is the ecological conversion we need. Return to the Creator, return to creation, and return to our own brothers and sisters. And that's what faith communities can teach us. And I was happy that Dr. Muktari mentioned about Muslim brothers and sisters. And at the Vatican, we had the document Human Fraternity, and we come together as faith community with Muslim brothers, with Jews, with Hindus, Buddhists, everyone, indigenous community. Because if all the faith traditions come together, we are 83% of humanity, imagine. So that is really giving us hope. But what really gives us hope, apart from the hope from above, is hope from below. And I'm a Don Bosco section priest, and I say it with joy. Young people are coming up. They are marching on our streets, beginning with children.
I should end the report of Thomas Paine.
They are acting, and this was mentioned, and I want you to hear. Also, so many things are happening, and this is giving us hope. So the hope from above, from our own faiths, and from below, our own children, our own young people. And in the Christian tradition, we say salvation comes from below. It's the mighty Goliath. We have oil companies and the powerful rich against us, but raised a small little boy called David. And I think in this critical moment of planet's history, God is raising up so many Davids, so many young people from around the world. And authors are proud that Africa is the youngest continent. the continent, highest number of young people. And this salvation come from the Davids of Africa, around the world, of course, but you will be leaders. And thank you for taking the leadership. And I conclude speaking of this special Laudato Si anniversary year, which Francis announced, with so many initiatives. And we invite Your Grace and the Nigerian Church to come up with initiatives during the anniversary year, but which will take us to the Laudato Si action platform, a sort of a 7-year journey to make our communities around the world totally sustainable in the spirit of the integral ecology Laudato Si. So what we have identified 7 sectors: families, so thousands of families during the anniversary of one motivation. So 24th of May next year, they will begin a 7-year journey to be totally sustainable. And you will find on our website, and we will send it across around the world. The criteria, the spirit of integral ecology, we have put again 7 criteria: that we listen to the cry of the earth, we listen to the cry of the poor, that we change our lifestyles, that we work on our economy, where we put our money on our shopping, how do we spend our money, that we work on our spirituality, that we bring education into it, and finally, in a communitarian participatory journey. So 7 criteria. But we are willing to work with you to walk with you. So families, schools were mentioned so many times. Again, children leading the journey, universities, parishes and dioceses, hospitals, businesses and farms, and religious orders. So we are inviting, we hope we'll have thousands of families, schools, universities, and all these sectors coming together. In 2021, we begin this journey. And the beauty of it, we are hoping in 2022, another group will join. And hopefully, double the number of the first group. So if we had 12,000 schools in the first year around the world who begin their 7-year journey, in 2022, we'll try to get at least 20,000 schools. In 2023, another group beginning their 7-year journey, and double the number of the second year's batch. So we hope in this decade, and that's the only time we have, we'll have thousands and hundreds of thousands of schools, families, parishes, universities, faith communities, the hospitals, everyone coming together and beginning this journey. Because the idea is that we need a critical mass. Sociologists tell us that changes come about when there's a critical mass. The Berlin Wall fell because 3.5% of Germans came together. At the beginning, we spoke of George Floyd and the movement growing up in the US, because people are coming together. And if we have a sufficient number, things can change. I come from India. We have had Mahatma Gandhi, who built up a people's movement. There's Nelson Mandela, a South African gem, but world's gem, who built up a people's movement. We have Martin Luther King, and we have Pope Francis now, probably. So we need to come together from around the world as Christian churches, as ecumenical communities, as religions, and build a critical mass. And we just have 1 decade. We are sure, with the hope, the grace from above, and with the grace from below, we can achieve it. And my last slide is, in this anniversary year, Pope Francis, Vatican is beginning the Laudato Si Award. Again, we put out of 7 awards, 7 areas, and there'll be 12 awards for the best Laudato Si individual, best Laudato Si family, best Laudato Si education institution, school, college, university, best Laudato Si community, parish, diocese, church, religious order, best Laudato Si action initiative. And we are thinking of 2 awards here, 1 for people's movement and 1 for young people's movement, because we think young people will make difference. Best Laudato Si economy, business, labor initiative, best Laudato Si communication initiative. So from 2021, these awards will be given every year to encourage people. So thank you very much for the invitation to join you. I learned a lot listening to you, and count on us. We are at your service. And I conclude by saying, Laudato Si, may the Lord be praised. for everything. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Father Joshua, for that presentation. We've gotten a lot to ruminate on and to look forward to. And I'm sure our youths, we have a full house of almost 100 youths and priests and interfaith based. We have some Muslims in the house as well who are all listening onto this webinar. And believe you me, there are loads of questions in the chat box, and it's very heartwarming to see what we're doing. And we thank you very much, Father Joshua, for deciding to spend the full hour with us. And we are really happy that that Mukhtar Aminu Kanu could bring you on, and not a Marie Fatai Williams or Alfred Adewale Martins, our Archbishop. But all the same, you are here with us, and we thank you. But before we go to the next big in the house, we would like to take one or two questions because it dovetails into what she's going to say, or the fact that she's wearing the cap of government. So we have a few questions, but we'll not take all yet. There is even one for His Grace the Archbishop. But the one we are going to take now is the one about the Coctus spectabilis, which is the national plant. And there's a question here from Thomas, and he says, Can Dreamscape, that is the organization, collaborate with NYCCEN in getting the national plant, Coctus spectabilis, propagated in all Catholic school gardens in order to end the national flower's obscurity, rarity, and misrepresentation in the Nigerian coat of arms? Like you all know, the Nigerian coat of arms has this flower, Coctus spectabilis, and it's almost extinct. But I know that the DG of NCF has been working on that very seriously, and there is need for us to talk about it briefly, because the second question is also the same thing. He says, what role can the Catholic schools play in leading the advocacy for the correction of the erroneous Nigerian coat of arms, national flower misrepresentation, in order that students can better appreciate biodiversity and the ecosystem with a national perspective? These errors are already in their textbooks and need urgent attention, as one cannot separate national development from environmental education. So I would like Dr. Aminu Kanu to respond to that quickly, because I know there's something being done about this national flower.
Sorry, if you don't mind, I think the federal government is also doing something.
Oh,
I know the Honorable Minister of State may want to speak about that.
Okay, so without much ado, we'll leave the rest of the questions for later. I would now like to call on my own very dear sister, very special friend and personal family friend of mine, who has risen to the ranks of being an Honorable Minister of State for Environment, someone I've known all through life, and none other than Barrister Sharon Ikeazo, who has done us proud this morning by joining and staying with us all through. Barrister Sharon, Honorable Minister of State, it is your turn to give us your remarks and your goodwill message and your thoughts so far.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me. Really honored to be here. Your Grace, Archbishop Martins, and I see a few dear friends. Father Abuchi was a Loyola Jesuit father. I'm a Loyola Jesuit mother. And of course, the NCF, as I was saying, the Laudato Si is indeed a great gift to mankind. And as we battle climate change, which is a serious threat to a lot of our people, especially those at the community level, and we have to do all to protect them. That is why we're working with faith-based organizations. We realize the reach that they have and their power of mobilizing. So I'm really impressed with what I've heard from Father Abuchi, that he has done at the school, which is Mother Earth, as the Holy Father says, has embraced us with open arms. So it's for us to protect her, for humanity and for mankind. And I will end by saying using my favorite quote from Thomas Paine: "The world is my country. All men are my brethren, and to do good is my religion." So this targets everyone of every faith. Let us use the Laudato Si to take care of Mother Earth. So very much for inviting me to this web. The national plant, of course, we're going to get it out of us with the condition that plant to make sure it comes back into national limelight and have it in majority of not only our out in government office work. And in the same way, promote our national bird. We have the national bird as well that will be promoting NCF for all the conservation efforts they are making. We as a government should support them and to go into upskilling conservation efforts of funds. Also,
thank you, Honorable Minister of State for Environment. I guess you finished your presentation because we could, towards the end, we couldn't hear much, but we thank you for what we've heard. We know you've talked about cooperation with interfaith cooperation with Laudato Si to take it higher into the next orbit, like Father Josh said. And I'm sure Father Abuchi is happy to meet with you again. Your son Hamzat went to Loyola Jesuit College along with my niece Rita as well. So Father Abuchi is their priest in school at the time. Yes, I think for those who don't know what the error in the coat of arms is with the national flower, is the Coctus spectabilis, it is that in the coat of arms it is red, whereas the flower itself is white. And that, yellow, sorry, and that is what the man, Thomas, who sent this thing was trying to ask us to correct. And I'm sure the Honorable Minister has taken note of it, and they know already that this has to be redone so that we don't miss the ecological value of that flower, Coctus spectabilis. Another person also talked about the national bird, which you also mentioned, Honorable Minister of State. And he says, while we discuss Ibadan Malimbe, that is that bird that is almost extinct, that many of our children don't know, more so is the threatened nature of Nigeria's national bird, Balearica pavonina, and Nigeria's national plant, Coctus spectabilis, which we already talked about. Environment is not only threatened by deforestation and environmental degradation, but majorly by obscurity. So what plans are in place to greatly reduce obscurity of nature with reference to the national symbols? I think we have answered that, and Dr. Aminu Kanu can say a word or two more to that. But the question for the Archbishop is, it says, to the Catholic Archbishop of Lagos, can plans and actions be made soonest to start green masses, probably once a month, to ensure congregation are constantly reminded of our role to protect the environment? This would also require parishes to act by leading and establishing gardens. So I think we'll give voice to His Grace, the Archbishop, to maybe share some thoughts on that and also make some comments.
Well, yes, thank you. We had a retreat for the courier and the consultants in February, and that involved all the deans, all the different deaneries, as well as officials of the chancery. The idea was to be able to create an awareness in every one of these different cells of the Archdiocese, such that the kind of thing you are talking about will be fairly easily passed down the line. Yes, indeed, it is necessary to think of what you have described as green, as an opportunity to inform people and to advocate concerning the environment. That certainly is something that can be done through these different deaneries that we have already created an awareness with. As for parks, obviously, we know how difficult it is to face in many of our parishes in Lagos. However, it can certainly be encouraged where there is space, even if it's a token garden, it can be had as a possibility. So I take that.
Thank you, Your Grace, for that answer. And I think that also dovetails to the two questions, which are, one is for NCF. The question is, what is the procedure for registering to NCF, which DG will take? And then the other one is, what plans does NYCCEN have to enshrine the love of biodiversity in Catholic students through environmental inclined subjects and environmental actions? And how do we raise this awareness of protecting the ecosystems as congregation, including adults, are seen dumping used sachets even within church premises? I think His Grace has touched on that already The answer is there. The retreat was held, and the awareness is being created in the churches already by the various priests and whatever. If you are a Catholic and you read Catholic Herald of last Sunday, even if it's online, you can go and get it. There was a whole feature on the environment, as well as what can be done and what churches should be doing and what parish priests should be doing, by none other than Reverend Father Olaito, the Dean of the Lagos Island Deanery, and other articles were there as well. So there is a lot going on already in the Archdiocese of Lagos regarding this, and NYCCEN is at the forefront of this charge as well. So there is a lot of work to be done, and like we said, yes, it will be in the school's curriculum very soon, in the Catholic schools, and we hope very soon in other schools as well. And there's of course this interfaith movement that we're trying to start now is also part of the plan, and we are happy the Honorable Minister has keyed into it as well. So over to you, DG, for your response.
Thank you. I have posted a link on the chat to everybody who want to join the NC, and I encourage everyone to just go to our site. There is a membership section, and the link is posted on the chat box here. Thank you.
Another question directed at Dr. Muktari is, what has African traditional religion got to do with this? That is, there actually was their own space in all of this interfaith. So I don't know whether you want to take that on.
Well, just to say that our interfaith initiative, Nigerian Interfaith Initiative, includes everyone. So we have had 2 events, public events over the last year, and it includes priests, it includes traditional rulers, and everybody. And we have published pamphlets on what the Bible says about ecology, what the Quran says about ecology, and what traditional African religion says about ecology. So I think we want inclusive in forming this effort, which would be truly interfaith.
Yeah, thank you, DG. I think quite a number of questions are for you. You've answered some already, but I think for the general house to know exactly what is going on, let's take one more. My question is directed to Dr. Mutari. Sir, what are the roles played by the government to curb the menace of desert encroachment experienced in the northern parts of the country?
Yes, thank you. I've answered in the chat box
yes, you have.
the question as well. And my response is that the government has a whole agency, the National Agency for the Wall, and they are doing work in 11 states, the frontline states. And the Honorable Minister is best placed to even expand on their work. Just to say that as NCF, we are with them as well.
Thank you, DG. We were going to throw this open, but we've taken a lot of chat already. So we're going to try and see how we can mute some of the microphones to see whether we can take some people in to say a few words, like the Dean and Desmond and a few others. So if we can do that, we will unmute the participants and get somebody like Desmond Majekodumi and Father Olaito and others to say a few words before we now take a wrap up of it by my own very dear colleague and board of trustee member of this NYCCEN, Mrs. Ngozi Iwere. Yes, we now bring to you Mrs. Ngozi Iwere, who's a board of trustee member of NYCCCEN, who has been working closely with me on this. It is we are both the prime movers of this thing with the young people. So Mrs. Ngozi Iwere, please, for a wrap up and for vote of thanks.
Good afternoon. It has really been a very enriching time that we have spent here discussing how we are going to make sure that Laudato Si, the values of Laudato Si are lived, not only in our Catholic communities, but in our society. So we are very honored to have had the kind of distinguished panel that we have had today. I want to thank Father Josh for spending so much time. We that being so busy, he wouldn't be able to stay with us. He has stayed with us to the very end, so we thank him very much. I'd like to thank the Honorable Minister for synergizing with us, what we are doing as non-state actors, and always trying to be part of everything that NYCCEN is doing when we reach out to her. And I'm also aware that she's worked very closely with NCF, so I'd like to thank her. I want to thank our Archbishop in a very special way. He has been so committed to Laudato Si, to make sure that the entire Archdiocese keys into Laudato Si, and he's been driving at all levels, at the level of the clergy, the faithful, and Catholic institutions. So, Your Grace, we thank you so much for being here, and we count on your support. I'd like to thank Dr. Aminu of the NCF. He's a very strong and staunch partner of NYCCEN. Professor Rosemary for very enlightening paper presented. And of course, I want to thank Father Mabuchi for the cutting edge work that they are doing in here. So we are grateful to all the panelists and all participants who have been here. Most of the participants that joined us have stayed on to the very end of this program. So we are very grateful to all of you. I want to, on behalf of NYCCEN, thank also priests, religious, the school administrators that are here, and other NCF members. And to assure of all that, as we know, Dame Marie, who is the prime mover of NYCCEN, she's an indefatigable person, very resourceful, very passionate and committed. It's been an honor for me to be on her team and to work with her on this. And I would like to assure us that as we are planning how to carry on this job and continue work, we have been challenged by a lot of the things we've heard today. There's been a lot of years about things that we can do, including suggestions in the chat box. And we assure you that we are not going to drop the ball. We are going to continue. We assure Father Nostrum that we key into the programs of Vatican here at NYCCEN. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming, and God bless us all.
Thank you very much, my co-host, Mrs. Ngozi Iwere, an indefatigable worker as well. We see that Father Olaiton is on, but we are going to unmute his mic and see whether he wants to say one or two words before. And as we are doing that, we want to do everybody to put on all the panelists to put on their videos so that we can take a photograph on the screen of all the participants. Please put on your videos now. So we thank you very much for having been here with us all through. And at the end of the day, we will get back to you. And we thank all of those, like Mr. Iwere said, who have participated and who have sent in questions. We'll get back to you. The questions we could not answer, we'll get back to you and we'll answer them in the chat box. So all of us put on our videos, please, and let us have a group photograph now. Thank you. Like you all heard from Father Jostrom, this is the first world webinar on Laudato Si. So
yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and have a blessed day. Thank you, Your Grace. Thank you, everybody.